Hello, I'm Steve Green with Southern Grown Hunting, and this is the first installment of our series of learning how to hunt or becoming a hunter. And this is the first one in our S.H.O.T Academy, which stands for Southern Hunting and Outdoor Training Academy. The goal here is if you don't have anyone to help you become a hunter, we want to do our best to give you the information and the tools that you need to learn how to hunt. And so I wanted to start off today by giving you four things that I believe that every person should know before they become a hunter. These are the foundational principles that you need to have before you step into the outdoors with a weapon. And so the first thing I want to talk to you about is the American model of wildlife management. In the old country in Europe, before America came to be founded, and still in some places today, the common person didn't have access to the wildlife as far as being able to take the wildlife. The wildlife belonged to the landowners. And as I teach classes from time to time, people will ask me, I own 40 acres, I own 20 acres. Am I allowed to just take a deer whenever I want to? And so it's always one of my favorite questions because, the American model of wildlife management is built in such a way that every citizen of this country has equal and joint, not ownership, but they share in the responsibility of managing the wildlife. So you have equal access and equal responsibility whether you're a hunter or not. The wildlife belongs, so to speak, to all of us. So landowners, even those that own large tracts of land, they don't have the option to just do whatever they want because the wildlife that uses their property and utilizes their land belongs to all of us. It's a shared resource. And so it's very special to live in a country where you have access to the wildlife in that manner. And so it's a heavy responsibility that's placed on every generation to do their part to manage the wildlife effectively. There's two things I want to say about that. When it comes to managing the wildlife or conservation, hunters, through the Robertson-Pittman Act, which was passed in Congress many years ago, fund most of the conservation in this country. Hikers, campers, they may pay a daily fee or an access fee on occasion to access parks and things like that. But hunters and fishermen, everything that you buy has a tax associated with it that goes to the federal government to support conservation in the United States. So it's very important that I think people know that. Every time you buy, ammunition or arrows or hunting equipment, hunting clothing, all of those things have taxes associated with them to pay for conservation. It's also important that you understand that when someone poaches an animal or takes an animal illegally, they're stealing from everybody. They're not just stealing from the person that owns that property, they're stealing from all of us. And that's why it's important to have people who are ethical in the outdoors. And that brings me to point number two. If you're going to be a hunter, you need to know that you need to be legal and do it the right way. And so every state in the country has what is called a wildlife agency or Department of Natural Resources. And all you have to do is go to your search engine like Google or Bing and type in your state and then just put wildlife agency and the website will come up there. Everything you need to know about hunting or fishing you can find on that wildlife agency's website. And so that's something you need to do and start familiarizing yourself with it. The other thing is it'll have a contact page on there so that you can reach out to your local office and get questions answered, get guidance on certain things. You can even send emails and get responses that way. So it's good to reach out to your local agency to get that information in your state. And that's as simple as going on the website. Two things I want to talk about that. Number one is licensing. You have to be licensed to hunt or fish in every state. And so there are some caveats to that, but every state has licensing rules and guidelines for anybody that's going to hunt or fish. And so you need to be able to know how to do that, how to access that, and most importantly, you need to know that in almost all states now you have to have a hunter safety course that is approved by the state. And again, you can find all of those resources on the state agency website. But even if they didn't, I recommend everybody take a hunter safety course and get licensed before, know what you're doing to be legal before you step outside into the outdoors. The third thing I think you need to make sure you understand is hunter ethics. It's very important that we all learn to be ethical and know how to be ethical in the outdoors. The first thing that we should have respect for is the wildlife that we pursue. It's important that you know shot placement, that you know exactly what you need to do to make a quick and humane kill on any animal that you pursue. You owe that to the animal that you're pursuing. We all owe that to the animal that we are pursuing. Nature is very brutal. When animals kill each other, predators kill animals to eat. It's very graphic at times. Hunters do a great job of being able to make that as painless as possible and to harvest that animal quickly and cleanly. The second thing is you need to utilize the meat and every part of that animal that you can. When you kill an animal, it's your responsibility to utilize that meat, and I say utilize all of the meat and not waste that. That's not something that an ethical hunter does. So, make sure that you are knowledgeable before you ever take an animal in how to properly clean that animal and prepare that animal for freezing or for storage and for eating. That being said, the other ethical thing you need to do is towards your fellow hunters, people that are outdoors. You need to be respectful and courteous at all times. And I like to say this, there's no need for greed in the outdoors. We're all sharing the same resource. It's something that we all should be helpful to one another, kind and polite, courteous to one another. Always be respectful to those that you find yourself near in the outdoors or come across in the outdoors. And so that's the third one. The fourth one, and the most important to me, is safety. There's a lot of things that can happen when you're outdoors with a weapon or hunting from an elevated platform. And so I want to make sure that safety gets talked about in this, because guns, bows, crossbows, all those things are inherently dangerous. So it is your responsibility before you ever step into the outdoors to know how to use your weapon. And whether that's a gun, whether that's a rifle, a shotgun, a muzzleloader, whether it's a crossbow or a regular vertical bow, you need to know the dangers of that weapon, but you need to know how to safely use that weapon, carry that weapon, discharge that weapon, so that no one is at risk when they're around you in that environment. Make sure that you're very familiar with the safety methods of operating that particular weapon that you're using. And then the second thing I want to talk about is tree stands. Probably more than anything else these days, tree stand accidents are the biggest thing for bad injuries and fatal injuries. And we don't want to see anybody go outside and not make it home or succumb to a very serious injury that's life-changing. Always use a safety harness when you're off the ground. I recommend using a lifeline system from the ground all the way up. They're not that expensive, and the insurance that they provide is absolutely key. So use a safety harness, use a lifeline system if at all possible, and then thirdly, use good equipment or outdated or worn equipment that is rusty or isn't up to standard. It's not worth falling and getting hurt or getting killed for using substandard equipment. So Those are the things that I think every person needs to know before you ever consider stepping into the outdoors, into the woods, and wherever you're going. And make sure that you understand the American model of game management. Make sure that you are ethical. Make sure you are safe. And of course, also make sure that you know the laws and the rules, and that you're able to participate legally in hunting in the outdoors. So that's the first video in our S.H.O.T program, Southern Hunting and Outdoor Training Program here at Southern Grown Hunting. If you'll check in with us from time to time, our YouTube channel and on our website, we're going to be bringing you more and more curriculum from our S.H.O.T program, and we look forward to sharing that with you as we're able to make that and get that out to you. But stick with us. God bless you, and we'll see you outdoors.